to our first episode of Bookies TV. This is sort of an evolution of Bookies Live that we have been doing on social media for a while, but we are now going to be posting these videos for all of you to enjoy on YouTube whenever you would like. I am Andrea Larson. I'm a reader's advisor at Cook Memorial Public Library District, and I'm joined today by Erica O'Rourke and Karen Varga, fellow readers advisors. And so today our theme is going to be Twitter-pated, which I just love. It was Karen's idea.
I just keep thinking about the owl walking around with his head doing this, and they're Twitter-pated.
Yeah, it's perfect because it's spring. You know, the crocuses are starting to bloom. I did in my neighborhood. I saw one little tiny bit of yellow yesterday. I was very excited. So it is the season for romance and young love, and so we're going to talk romance books for all of you today. So with that, Erica, do you want to go first and
absolutely
get started with your picks?
It's my area of expertise. So I will tell you, both of my recommendations this month are unusual for me in that they are both the second book in a series. I try very hard not to recommend book twos. I always like to start off with the first one. In this case, both of these titles are from series where I really enjoyed the first entry. But book two, just the authors leveled up. They just did something really, really special with these stories. And they stand alone. So if you want to read them in order, you can, but you certainly don't have to. The first title is The League of Gentlewomen Witches by India Holton. It's part of her Dangerous Damsels series. It's set in Regency, England, but it's a version that has magic and pirates, just that exist in part of the world. And I like to pitch it to people as Bridgerton meets Terry Pratchett, which is kind of, yes, it's an unusual combination. It really, really works. In this particular story, Charlotte is a very prim and proper future leader of a magical secret society. And she clashes with Alex, this rakish pirate, because they're both chasing after some mystical amulet, which is absolutely a MacGuffin. The amulet is what prompts the chase. But what happens is, after a series of catastrophes, Charlotte and Alex have to team up and head out on the hunt with everybody else in hot pursuit. Friends, family, witches, pirates, witch hunters. And it just becomes increasingly madcap. What I love about this series is it's very tongue-in-cheek humor. It's that very dry British humor with a lot of wordplay. The magic it adds a lot of color and life to the story without overwhelming the plot, which I think people get nervous about, and you don't have to worry about that here. But what I really love is watching these two characters. They are absolutely charming. They claim to not at all like each other. They can't stand each other. And it's clear to everybody that that's really not the case. And so watching them fight their feelings and eventually succumb is just delightful. It's very low heat. Everything is closed door in terms of heat level. So I think for a lot of people, that's a big appeal factor. It feels like a breath of fresh air. I cannot think of anything I've read recently that feels so spring-like. And I can't stop talking about it. So.
That sounds awesome. That sounds fantastic. And you know, and what a fun adventure plot to tie in with the romance.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, you mentioned Bridgerton. Have either of you watched season 2 yet?
Not yet. I'm very excited to, but I have not watched it.
Well, I will say that season 2 is definitely meeting all my expectations. I mean, it still has all those lush visuals, and the flowers. Oh my gosh, the flowers and the colors. It's just beautiful. But season 2 is also the whole thing. The whole premise is the trope that you just mentioned, where they hate each other, but really they love each other. So it's the enemies to lovers, I guess, is what you'd call it. Which is a little bit different from the book, I am told. So
it is.
Yeah.
It's
but worth watching.
Yeah. There are some really funny scenes in the Bridgerton book that I am eager to see how they translate to the screen. But I don't want to spoil anything.
No details. The only thing I will say is that from a steam factor, it's definitely, I think I'm through episode 5. It's definitely really toned down from the first season.
I have heard that.
I don't know if it's
a lot of pining.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens in the next few episodes. I mean, this is Bridgerton after all, but you never know. So anyhow, okay, well, enough about that. Karen, what do you have for us? What's your first book?
Okay, well, I like romances that kind of make you wait before the characters jump together, and they build up to the juicy parts. And if I have to carry that over to my Twitter-pated theme, think of the animals that are doing the birds that are doing the dances and everything like that before anything happens. You got to build up to it. And Savvy Sheldon, Feels Good as Hell, by Taj McCoy, kind of fits the bill for that one. And that's because Savvy is in no way ready for a new relationship. She just broke up with this ultimate jerk. Her ex gave her 2 reasons that he wanted to break up. Number 1, because she doesn't keep up her appearance, AKA she's gained weight. And number 2, she works too hard, AKA she works harder than he does. So this story really starts out kind of like a makeover time. Savvy wants to get a revenge body, and her way of doing that is she decides that she's going to go back and do some of the things that she loves. So she's going to get back into tennis, and then she's going to go to hot yoga with her friends, and she's going to do hiking, and eventually she's even going to renovate her kitchen because she loves to cook. And her mother's been nagging her that she's got to change the kitchen. So you might wonder, okay, with all this going on, how does Spencer come into this story? Well, Spencer is the guy who's walking his dog outside, and he's doing it all the time. And she looks at him and she actually thinks that maybe he's homeless because he's always dressed in like scruffy clothes and they're dirty, and she can't figure out what the heck's going on. And he's even there to witness her breakup with her ex. But then she starts running into him in other places, like the coffee shop. And she's wondering what's going on. And then she finds out that he's renovating a house next door. So you can kind of guess what's going to happen. Who's going to renovate Savvy's kitchen? Well, it's going to be Spencer. So it's fun. I really love Spencer. I really love Savvy. Very strong characters. And I also love the friends that are on the side that are supporting Savvy. They're just so fun. There's even a little side romance, an LGBTQ side romance with 2 of her friends. So they're very enjoyable to read about. The author is very detail oriented. So you're going to hear a lot about tennis and getting better at tennis and hot yoga and cooking and work, and the romance is very detailed also. So not behind the scenes as Erica was talking about. It's a fun book to read about self-improvement, about accidentally finding the Mr. Right, and you're going to feel good after you finish reading it.
Karen, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How are the food descriptions? I'm a big food description in books kind of person.
Oh, she talks about what goes into it, how you prepare it.
Yes.
She takes cooking classes. That is one of her main passions, and it plays a major role in the story.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I know, it makes you hungry. Okay, but they have to be healthy food, you know, nothing overly processed or anything
Okay.
like that.
Oh,
All
even
right.
better. I like it. Ooh, that sounds good. Gosh, now I have 2 books to put on my list. So many. So
It's
many.
the danger of working here.
It is. It is. But we knew what we signed up for. Oh no, we have the best jobs. Okay, so my first book is called The No Show, and it's by Beth O'Leary. And I chose this title because I really enjoyed her first novel, which was called The Flat Share. And she writes books that are light and romantic, but also they're set in England, which is a big draw for me, and they're contemporary. And I'm also, when it comes to romance, I'm more of a contemporary fan than anything else. So the book is very cleverly plotted. This is one of those books where you think you know exactly where the story is going, and then boom, there's a twist. The basic premise is that 3 women get stood up by a guy on Valentine's Day. All of these women are very different, and they're seemingly unconnected to one another. But yes, there is a thread between them all. I won't say more than that. And the women, you know, one works in PR, another one is just working at a charity shop because she's sort of recovering from a previous career in London. And one climbs trees for a living, which was so interesting. And that's really not so relevant to the plot, but it was fascinating anyway. So this is a book about these women who have to face their fears and insecurities and allow themselves to be who they really are. Each one has to give herself permission to be happy and recognize that she is worthy of love. It's also a romance because you have 2 characters throughout the book who are building toward a romance, but because there are 3 different points of view, it's sort of a circuitous route to get there. I don't want to say more because, again, I think I'm going to give away too much, other than to say this is a fast, fun read with 3 really engaging female characters and a big surprise. If you like Catherine Center, if you like Emily Henry, this could be a book for you. And not particularly steamy either. So just if anyone's interested in the steam factor on that one.
All right. So my next one is, again, a second book in a series, but actually this one's from a duology. It's Tessa Bailey's Hook, Line, and Sinker. It's the Bellinger sisters duology about these 2 Los Angeles-based sisters who return to their long-deceased father's fishing village in Washington State, and both sort of find their true path through life and also true love. If you are talking about heat levels, I would say this is one of the spiciest books that I read last year, the first book in the series. This one is also pretty high heat, but it's much more of a slow burn romance. So it's kind of an interesting contrast to the first one. I would not let it alarm you. Let me put it that way. In Hook, Line, and Sinker, Hannah, who's a shy Hollywood production assistant, and Fox, who is the womanizing fisherman in this town. In book 1, they developed this really unlikely friendship. It was actually one of the best parts of book 1 was watching sort of this prickly but true friendship emerge. In this book, Hannah returns to Westport. All you need to know from book 1 is that they became friends, but now she's back in town. She's the only woman that Fox has ever had a real friendship with. And she's in town for this movie project that could level up her career. And they both start to realize that they might have more than just friendly feelings. And they're also both terrified of what that could mean for lots of different reasons: professional, personal, family, emotional. Watching them develop that relationship was absolutely delightful. It felt very organic. Both characters are extremely well developed, so you genuinely believe in the things that they're struggling with. It doesn't feel like issues are just piled on. They feel really inherent and meaningful. And so watching them sort of win their happy ending is just fantastic. I think if you like a lot of those big contemporary romance authors right now, Lyssa Kay Adams, Talia Hibbert, Casey McQuiston, those are books that do a really nice job of managing characters' emotional arcs and the couple's romantic arc with a lot of humor and a lot of heat. I think this one is a fantastic choice.
Great. I'm going to move on next. You might find that at the start of the book, Smooth as Silk by Alicia Hunter Page, that the Scottish kilt lover, Robbie McTavish, may be unbelievably annoying and definitely outlandish. I didn't like him very much at all, and Hyacinth Dawson definitely did. But he grows on you. So as we all know, opposites attract, and Robbie is disorganized, gaudy, lacking in proper decorum, spontaneous, sloppy. And Hyacinth is organized, inflexible, refined, and very neat. It's kind of like an Oscar and Felix from The Odd Couple. I know, prime reference, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. Robbie is from a huge, loving family. He's a hockey player professionally. He has casual relationships with different girls in every city, and that he doesn't see anything wrong with that because they don't have any problem with it. And Hyacinth is an orphan, only child. She runs her own bridal shop. She carefully plans every relationship to make sure it's with the perfect person, and they always fail miserably. So you might ask, how do these two very different people come together? Well, they're acquaintances through friends. And on one impromptu visit that Robbie makes to the bridal shop, they get caught in a video that goes viral. And Hyacinth she's so upset about this, afraid that it's going to ruin her business, until she finds out that viral video is actually going to get her a spot on the show that she wants to be in. It's called All Dressed in White. But the one thing that's required is that Robbie has to be there when she does the show, because it's their interaction with each other that's so funny. So she asks Robbie to do it, and he tells her that if she wants him to do something, then she's going to have to do something for him. She's going to have to start going to all his hockey games, and she's going to have to go to the post parties afterwards. And hey, she's even going to have to go to the Christmas gala with him. Well, obviously, as they start spending more and more time together, this is a sweet romance, and it grows into something that's going to last forever. So a wonderful read. Once again, it makes you feel good at the end. And yes, we all know opposites do attract.
Excellent. Oh, that sounds so good. All right. Well, my second book it's a queer romance, actually. And it's funny because I was reading the Sunday Chicago Tribune yesterday, and of course I pretty much go straight to the book section every week, and just so you can see how old school I am, I have it on paper, and then here's the headline. I don't know how well you can see it. It says, "I just want something that's gay and happy." LGBTQ romance booming as book sales echo cultural shift. And this article is just talking about the huge growth in LGBTQ romance that's been published over the last 5 years and in the sales of these books, because more than double the number of LGBTQ romance books sold in 2021 than they did the year before. So you get really popular, and you're seeing them more and more in bookstores and of course on our library shelves. So this particular one is called The Charm Offensive, and it's by Alison Cochrane. And it's a fun romance, but it also really tugs at the heartstrings. I loved the premise of it. It's set on a romance reality show. So basically it's set on The Bachelor. But in this case, the handsome bachelor named Charlie ends up falling not for one of the women, but his tall, gangly, cargo shorts wearing handler, Dave. The author, by the way, has lots of fun talking about Dave's wardrobe challenges because he's not a fashion kind of guy. Charlie is impeccably dressed, and then Dave's like all over. He's kind of a mess. So while Charlie is figuring out his own sexuality, this is kind of happening in front of all of America on this reality show week to week. And he's starting to kind of frustrate the show's producers because he's just not doing very well with the women, but he's sort of forcing himself to get through it. He's also battling severe OCD and anxiety. In reality, he probably shouldn't have come on the show because of his mental health issues, but it so happens he's a tech genius who was unfairly pushed out of his company. So he's kind of using the show to make his Silicon Valley comeback. Now, Dave, on the other hand, has been a producer on the show for 6 years and believes firmly in happily ever after and true love. He does not share Charlie's skepticism about, oh, this show is just a vehicle for me to get back into the tech world. Dave also has some mental health issues of his own. So as the two are getting through the season and Dave is having to sit and watch Charlie romance these women on screen when he knows that Charlie really should be with him, it's a great premise. It's a feel-good romance where both of the leads have to overcome significant real-world obstacles to be together. Sometimes in romance books, the obstacles can feel contrived, but in this case, these really weren't, because these were two men in a closeted relationship on a romance show, for goodness sakes. So this was about having the courage to show your true self to the world. And the author also offers some pretty frank descriptions of mental health issues that both of the characters were struggling with. And she weaves them into a story in a way that feels really organic and authentic and added a whole extra dimension to it that I really liked. I listened to this book because it was an Audie Award finalist and the narrators were terrific. Two different guys doing, Charlie and Dave's voices. And so I'd highly recommend the audiobook. It's available through Cook Library on the Cloud Library app. So that's The Charm Offensive.
We have seen more and more romances that are set in the world of reality television. Sadie on a Plate, Roseline Palmer Bakes the Cake. It really, which was one of my probably top 3 favorites last year. It really is interesting to me to see sort of that really popular trend of reality television is now filtering into fictional print books. I think that just delights me. I think it's really
absolutely
funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just how much social media figures into plot points too. As Karen, as you were talking about with your book, your second book, how that's a big plot driver, the fact that video goes viral. So it's a good time, I think, for the romance industry in books. They just seem to be, romances, we know this, have always been very popular, but it seems like even right now they're enjoying even more popularity. I think maybe because things have been so rough in the world the past couple of years, people are looking for happy endings.
Yeah. Yeah, and the great thing, and you know me, I'm going to be a big cheerleader for romance novels. It's the whole point of a romance novel is that you know it's going to end okay. And so you can really allow yourself to just sit back and enjoy the journey. And I think that there's just something really reassuring about that, to know that it is going to work out. Everything's going to be okay. If it doesn't end happily, it's not a romance.
Well, all right. I hope all of you have enjoyed our romance suggestions for today. If you want more suggestions, please come see us at the reference desk. We're always happy to talk books. Or you can go online to cooklib.org/bookies and fill out a preference form, and we can give you some personalized recommendations right in your inbox. So for the bookies, thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.